started Redbud because creative writing is so important to me.
We couldn't believe that there wasn't a school like Redbud in the Triangle already. In cities across the country, Boston, Minneapolis, Seattle, there were already these really venerated creative writing institutions that had been in their communities for decades. And there wasn't something like that here. We felt like it was a huge missed opportunity, and we felt like the community really needed something like this.
Growing up, I didn't see a lot of writers that looked like me, and it felt really important to me to be able to create something where we could bring a lot of diverse voices together.
It has been so magical to see this community grow over the past 6 years. When we started this school, we knew it would be a place for people to learn about creative writing, but we never imagined how much of a role it would play in people's social lives, in people's wellness, in people's healing, in people's personal transformation. I have been out at cafes and thrift stores in Durham and Raleigh and run into groups of Redbud students who became friends in our classes and are now out and about doing things together. We have students who met in classes 4 or 5 years ago and still get together for dinner and writing once a month. It's been so incredible to see those connections forged, all because of Redbud.
So the first day of class is always a really special time because I see so many students coming in who are really nervous and hesitant. And then by the end of class, I see how excited they are about creative writing.
I remember once I was teaching an intro class and my students were really nervous. You could tell that a lot of them had not really written that much before and that they were outside of their comfort zones. By the end of the class period though, I saw 2 of them exchanging phone numbers. In our classes, we've seen students finish their novels, we've seen students get agents and have their books out on submission to Big 5 publishing houses. We've seen students who've never written a short story or an essay before put pen to paper for the first time and get their story down on the page. From the beginning, we knew that we didn't want Redbud to only be for people who could afford it. We wanted Redbud to be for everyone. That's why we have our scholarship funds, and to date we've given out more than $25,000 to students who would not be able to take the classes otherwise. We also have our completely free community classes for populations that have not been told that their stories matter.
We've taught classes for low-income senior citizens, and one of the most special things we see is that they are often sharing stories that they haven't told for decades. And to watch them put those stories on the page and to get a chance to share and feel encouraged by their peers is such a special thing.
We have taught classes to unhoused people. We've taught classes to survivors of domestic violence and abuse. We've taught classes to low-income seniors in Durham and rural senior citizens about an hour north of Raleigh. We have drop-in classes for BIPOC writers. We have classes for low-income writers. Now more than ever, it's so important that everyone has the access to community, catharsis, and transformation, and creative writing provides all of those. We regularly hear from students that art classes change their lives.
I am Carla Tuttle. I'm the Volunteer Engagement Manager at Raleigh Rescue Mission. Raleigh Rescue Mission is a back-to-work program that provides transitional housing to individuals who are experiencing situational homelessness. We serve single men, single women, and single parents with children here at the mission, and we provide them with life skills classes, parenting classes, and vocational training to get them prepared to go back to work and eventually get to independent living. We are so excited that we have partnered the past 2 years with Redbud Writing Project. The classes that Redbud offered gave our clients an opportunity to explore some of their own experiences, some of the trauma that they've been working through in a creative way. And it gave them a chance to tell their story in their own way so that they were comfortable talking about it and sharing it with other people. For the populations that we serve, there's a lot of focus on meeting physical needs, and certainly those are important. If you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, those physiological needs are crucial to survival. But there's so much more to healing than just meeting physical needs. So at the mission, we try to take a more holistic approach, and the arts are a necessary part of that. It allows our clients or anyone else who is involved in the arts to explore fun activities, what we see as more normalized experiences that they would get to choose to do if they were living independently. And this is a chance for them to forget for a little while that they're living at Raleigh Rescue Mission and just participate in something that they enjoy. The arts stimulates brain cell growth, it stimulates cognitive and critical thinking skills as well. I do remember one female client who, whenever we would offer activities, she rarely would come and participate, but for whatever reason, she wanted to come to this creative writing workshop. And I sat in on the workshop, and she talked more during this workshop than I had seen her talk during her time at the mission. And she was very excited to tell the story of something that had happened to her when she was younger. And clearly this was an important story, and this gave her an opportunity to write it down, share it with others, and sort of talk it through as if that were her way of processing what had happened to her. We are just so excited that we have community partnerships like Redbud Writing Project. We do all we can here as a staff to support the clients, but it really is a community effort in helping the clients to heal from the experiences and the trauma that they have been through, and to help them know that the entire community cares about them, not just the staff who are here at the mission.
The fiction writing classes at Redbud Writing for survivors of domestic violence have changed my life. I was coming out of a really dark place. My years of abuse had driven me to a place where I didn't sleep really for years. I had panic attacks constantly. I was a shell of a human. All of my hobbies went away during my time of abuse. I lost my love of reading, of writing, of honestly just taking care of myself. To have a place like Redbud that provided such an incredibly safe, warm, welcoming environment that was instructional without being elitist, that was welcoming and fun, and I was surrounded by other survivors who got what I'd been through. It kind of made me whole again. I can't really overstate the impact that it's had on my life in bringing me back out of my shell, in letting me know that it's okay to have gone through what I went through and to keep going, to survive and become a better version of myself. I learned to be able to process what I went through and not let it control me anymore. I learned to know myself and trust myself again, that I can see when these kinds of situations might pop up in the future and protect myself against it. I learned how to feel the emotions that I went through and lean into them and process them rather than shoving them down and ignoring them. Emily and Arshia were the best instructors, the best people to bounce ideas off of, and taught me more in those 6 weeks that I learned in a lot of my writing classes in college that lasted semesters. I just can't speak highly enough of that organization and the women who run it, and I'm so grateful to them for putting this program together. I wish every survivor of domestic abuse could have the opportunity to do what I did and go to that class and reclaim myself.
I'm Matthew Buckley Smith. I teach classes at Redbud in fiction and horror, and I just finished teaching a class called The Big Fuck You that was all about curses and revenge. I think my main focus as a teacher is on structure, on brass tacks. With fiction, I focus a lot on plot, on scene and exposition and inciting incidents and climaxes and denouement, this sort of thing. I find that that's what most of my students say they value. I mean, I try to take a moment at the beginning of every class to ask what people are there for, because this is adult education. There are no grades, there are no report cards, there's no requirements. What are you going to get in class with me? You're going to get, we generally run long. There's a lot of discussion. I sweat a lot. I use a fair amount of profanity, but my students seem to have a good time. What do people dislike about my classes most? Probably that I assign like weird shit. My goal is that every student reads at least one story that they really love and at least one story that they really don't like, because it helps kind of triangulate what they should be pursuing as a reader and a writer. You know, I want people to discover new writers they can go read more of, but I also want people to recognize what it is that they find satisfying as a reader. But what you write should be what you would most want to devour. I don't think you should try to write what other people will think is good, or what other people will think is intelligent, or what will get approved of, or what will be popular. I think you should try to write what you most want to read. And that's what I encourage my students to do. That's what we do our best to approach in my often overcrowded, running, long, sweaty, profanity-laced classes. So if that sounds like a plan to you, then please come join us.
My name is Deja Moore, and I teach with Redbud Writing Project. And I've taught a range of courses, including intro memoir, prose poetry, Writing the South, and a host of others. My own writing interests mostly involve poetry and creative nonfiction. I worked for several years as a journalist before getting my MFA in poetry at NYU. In terms of writing interests, I really look at the inheritances that I have as a queer child of the Black South and Black, queer, Southern, and Atlantic histories more broadly. I see writing as a tool for preserving cultural heritage and memory, and also for imagining new futures beyond what the past has given us and what the present shows us can be possible. Redbud is really important for the community because it brings together all sorts of people in terms of both background and writing goals and experiences. I believe that writing should be available to everyone, and quality writing instruction and feedback, but it can be really hard to find those spaces and create that community. Writing is a practice that involves moving slowly, taking time, and those aren't really things that our current world really encourages. So to have a space where people can come together, create that time, prioritize creativity, especially for adults in adult life, to be able to do something that is really about expression and memory, creativity, understanding. All of those things are in such short supply for most adults, most working adults. So to have that space is so special. I also really appreciate that Redbud has a sliding scale in terms of payment, so that our neighbors who can contribute the full cost of a class or even beyond that are able to help support members of our community who are equally deserving of creative outlet and instruction, who might be less able to pay that full sticker price right now. That's really important to me as a teacher and as a writer who has faced limited opportunities due to finances in the past. So I really appreciate that. One of my favorite things about teaching for Redbud is just meeting the new group of writers that I'll be spending 6 weeks with every term. It's really special to create those spaces where people grow and learn and also are so vulnerable. Everything we write, whether it's autobiographical or not, comes from such a deeply personal place of interest and concerns. And so to bring that together in the classroom is a really special experience.
My name is Jason Jeffries. I am a writer and editor and steward of the North Carolina Book Festival, and I've managed a couple of local independent bookstores in my time, and I first came across the Redbud Writing Project when I was managing Quail Ridge Books and running the North Carolina Book Festival, and we ended up partnering on several initiatives and workshops, and I've been lucky enough to host the project in multiple venues. And I think it's important to have those workshops out in the community. Every city that you look at that has a robust literary scene has these writing workshops. If you're thinking of Minneapolis, San Francisco, New York, and North Carolina being a center of a literary scene for so many writers. There are more writers here than almost anywhere else in the United States. It's important to have this resource not only for writing students, but for the community. When you go to the Redbud Writing Project's workshops and you see these people who are working on their writing, they are really placing their heart and their souls and their passions in the hands of these instructors, and you can see it in their eyes when they're sitting in the space. And that the value of that resource cannot be valued highly enough.
Tell us who you are.
My name is Arthur Iannacone. I started taking Redbud classes after seeing an ad in the back of the Indie Weekly. I started out in fiction classes because I'd done fiction in undergrad and college and wanted to keep going. And after I took my first class, I immediately signed up for a second class, and then on and on and on, and I've been taking classes as long as they've been offering them. Redbud has given me a community space for my hobby, and writing can be a really solitary process, and people are not always wanting to read somebody's hobby writing, and so finding other writers who wanted to work on their craft and also share it with other people gave me the opportunity to connect and build a community of writers. And that's been priceless. I started out writing fiction, but I have been writing memoir in the most recent class that I've been in. And for the longest time, I didn't want to write about my own life, but the environment and the work that, the reading homework and the chance to engage in memoir in a more serious environment, it gave me the courage to write about myself, where previously I was nervous to do so. So yeah, memoir's the focus now. I want to write more of that, and I want to write a book. It's obviously an area with so many different schools. You have UNC, Duke, and NC State, and there are a lot of opportunities for young people and college students to get together and be in the arts and write. And after I graduated from UNC, a lot of my friends moved away, and a lot of those creative types I had trouble finding again. And Redbud has been a place to find those creative types, and not only writers, but people who do comedy or people who do theater. Like a play, you see it once and then it's over, but Redbud, the classes are offered all year long in the standard semesters, and so there's always something to look forward to. I have certainly made friends through Redbud, and that's probably the most wonderful part of it. I had mentioned it as community before, but yeah, friends that I probably wouldn't have met in any other forum. Honestly, there are people my age, but there are people of all ages and backgrounds, writing skill levels. It's been really nice to have that diversity of experience through Redbud. It's been priceless. It's a ton of fun. Working a stressful job and not having a lot of other spaces for community, Redbud has been able to fill that gap for me, where I can once a week go and laugh and have conversations with people who want to engage in similar work, or just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where else I could do that. I can't do it at the gym. I can't do it at the grocery store. This is the only place where I'm going to find a group of people who want to talk about a feminist memoir and not walk away from me after 10 minutes.
Hi, my name is Amanda Corey, and I am a Redbud writing student. I got involved in Redbud about a year ago, which sounds crazy to say. I took an intro to memoir course and then a 6-month memoir writing intensive. I happened to be walking my dog down the street for over a year and saw the lovely awning outside of the bookshop, and I thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool to take writing classes? The classes have been so important to me because it's been a community space, which I was really looking for in Raleigh. We had just moved here. I did grow up here, but I didn't have a ton of friends. And truly, writing was something I'd always wanted to do, but I was a little nervous to do. So it provided me a safe space to write with others who were like-minded and wanted to grow and learn and really pursue something exciting together. Currently, I am working on a full-length memoir about a portion of my life living in New York City and being diagnosed with lung cancer or cancer of the lung. You'll get that joke when you read my memoir. But it's been very exciting to write it from start to finish, all through Redbud classes. Redbud is extremely important to the community because it, once again, just provides a safe space for people to write. But more than that, it provides really cool and interesting classes that you couldn't find anywhere else. They have a class for whatever you want to write about, whenever you want to write about it. They change frequently. They have longer term classes, shorter term classes. They are just really a space for whatever you want to do. They will provide it to you. Of course, I have made so many friends through Redbud. It has been a wonderful place to meet others who want to read your work, even if it's terrible, and especially want to read your work when it gets better, because that's what you learn how to do here. And then it's also just been a fun place to just chat with people after class for 15 minutes, linger out the door, make new friends. It's really been lovely. I would like to add that you should consider donating regularly to the Redbud Writing Project because it is a place that only really works when people like you give a wonderful, wonderful donation to people like Emily and Arshia, who are really here to build strong community bonds, make sure that we stay just like that, a community, helping each other, learning and growing together, and I know that they would really appreciate it.